Well, happy birthday, Sheena. I'm excited. You've got your birthday week that you're looking forward to. Anybody else having a birthday this week? Drop that in the chat. Or maybe someone who's really special in your life. Drop that in the chat. Let us tell you happy birthday. Welcome. You found your Monday morning set up for the week. And I just left because let me see, I'm going through, oh, it's your mom's birthday. Happy birthday. Yes, Jennifer, I'll show you that definition of simplicity again. I was looking. I'm going through the chat really quickly. Oh, Lori said that hi, she said, hi, Jen's O and K, our last initials, because you have Team Jennifer on the call this morning. And I thought, oh, our initials together are okay. So I love that. Jennifer Krippner is my sidekick, co-facilitator this morning. She's popping on. She gave y'all a quick wave. She's my fun friend and co-facilitator, and we love getting to be Team Jennifer and setting up together. Make sure that your chat is set to everyone because that is how we are going to, communicate with one another, share ideas. If you are here and it's just been a hard time, we're glad you're here. If you are here and you are feeling these happy, new, fresh week vibes, we're glad you're here. We always say, come as you are, take what you need. You let this journal be a tool in your life so that you have, I love that. Yeah, KO, knock out the Monday scaries. We want you to be able to have, this is our accountability group, our support group. And it really does help us take our beautiful journals and use them to help with our mental wellness, our emotional wellness, being together, our social wellness, and then, of course, setting all those goals for the other areas in our life that bring us just all the good things or help us look forward to that. So, yeah, so good morning and all our May babies. I've shared before, I love the month of May because both of my kids are May babies. I was a teacher and I managed to have them on May 28th and then 3 years later, May 29th. So I was home all summer with my babies. So May's pretty special for me. Another date that I'm looking forward to in May is this coming Sunday. My in real life Sonder meetup is happening this Sunday at Pie Falutin, one of my favorite local haunts. And I'm super excited. We're going to have a couple of journaling activities. We're going to just visit with each other. I have a fun giveaway bag for a drawing for whoever comes. So if you are in this area, please come. Feel free to bring a friend to the magic that is Silk and Solder. I'm very excited about meeting some of you in real life. So it's going to be so good. This week, Mayhaw has a couple of events on Tuesday. One is Tuesday during the day. And then a little different take that evening. It is about kind of looking at your personality, and framing it, looking at your personality through that lens, and talking about what that looks like with the addition of our personal coaching. But every time I meet, I get to be on these calls as the support person, and I always learn something new. So I'm very excited about that. Yes, India, to answer your question, they both will kind of show you some of the unique things about you and about how that works with the personal coaching, but also, just again, I always take away stuff, right? Whether it's about the personal coaching or not. There are the community guidelines that we always share when we are together. I was scrolling through. It's that reminder that we create safe spaces when we are with one another and we keep things as healthy as we can for ourselves and for one another. And then there, Jennifer, is that simplicity quote that I love, the ability To simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak. And I had shared with you that a lot of times simplicity, the idea of simplicity brings up minimalism. I by no means am a minimalist. I love my things. I love the things that bring me joy. My clutter, it's organized clutter, but it's some of those things may seem unnecessary to others, but for me, they spark joy. They make me feel connected to others. There's reasons why I have some of the things I have. So while I may not necessarily always look simplistic or minimal, that simplicity thing, like every one of these baskets are filled with stuff, and a lot of it's my hobby stuff, right? Um, but I have those things to create my simple life, to find the things that do bring me those joy. So, but if I have too much that I'm not using, I should get rid of that because it does get in the way of that simplistic joy. So if this speaks to you, grab a screenshot, take pictures. We always suggest doing that if there's something that comes along during one of these setups that really just jumps out at you, grab a screenshot so that you can have that. You can put that in your journal somewhere. Our morning will begin with our mind map. Is there anyone joining us for the very first time to do a virtual social? We do this deeper dig into the theme each month at our weekly setup. So we're going to be working on the second week of our simplicity mind map this morning. So if you are new, I'll show you last week's question as well as this week's question. It's just a bonus prompt you get for coming to these. We'll do our rosebud thorn reflection, and then I've got some examples to show you of the weekly setups. You may already have your cadence. You know exactly what you're going to do. You've kept this appointment with yourself so that you've carved out the time to set yourself up. But I'll also have some examples to share with you. So our mind map, this can be done anywhere in your journal, a blank space, the definition page, the quote page, the weekly scratch pad. I do mine. This month, mine is on the very last page of the journal. Maybe sticky notes that you just pop in there. It's really up to you. It's not print. This is not printed in your journal, but we've been exploring. We're going to be exploring ways about what simplicity looks like in our life. And last week was what physical possessions do you own that no longer serve a purpose or bring you joy? And I'm kind of doing a little personal decluttering challenge, and I've made a list of 31 things, 31 areas in my home I'm going to look at. I conquered the medicine cabinet last week. I conquered like 5 dresser drawers. I'm breaking them down into little bits. So it felt really good and I put those bags in my car and took them straight to the shop on my way to yoga class. So I didn't let them roll around in the back of my car. I do still have my drugs that are expired because I got to find one of those depositories to leave them. But it felt good to do some of that decluttering. And again, I have some more projects to do. But this week is about your draining commitments or activities that you could maybe eliminate to make space for what truly matters. And decluttering bingo is a great idea, Radhika. I love that. That's a great idea. So wow, we like to fill our calendars. Maybe some of us more than others. I am terrible. I'm a recovering overcommitter. And so this one really spoke to me. Now, my life looks different. I don't have kids at home anymore. I'm not working full time outside the home. I kind of get to pick and choose what I do now. So I know though, I thought about when I had 2 kids who were older, not driving, they were plugged into things. I was plugged into things. How did I make the decisions of what I wanted to support outside of the things I had to do, like work? Um, and so I want you to start considering, and I'll share sort of where I went with this. Um, I found this quote. I don't say no because I'm so busy. I say no because I don't want to be so busy. We talk a lot about boundaries and saying no and putting those things into place. And talking about it is one thing and doing it is another, right? So like when my kids were home, I was a youth counselor for my church. And so I had every Sunday night I was there. I taught Sunday school. I was a booster mom for the choir program. The year both of my kids were in high school, I was plugged into the band, and like did the announcements at games and fed kids before football games and that kind of stuff. And I was riding buses, and I just had very little downtime, and I think, I like to be productive, so that fed that. But while so I felt like I don't know if there were things I was willing to give up. And so what I thought about when I was considering this for y'all and for me is, maybe start looking at this question through the lens of your core values, or your motivation, like what makes you want to do that, or your strengths. Like I did stuff because I was good at it, right? The things I align myself with. So I didn't sign up for treasurer because blah. So I felt like I was aligning with my strengths. But then ask yourself the why behind what you are doing. And there's that technique called the 5 whys. So you would ask yourself why about a thing 5 different times. So it would be like, why are you volunteering in band? Well, because I love supporting my kids. Well, why do you love supporting your kids? Well, it goes back to my mom was never there for me, and I'm trying to be a different kind of parent. Well, why is that? Well, I'm trying to be a legacy breaker. And so I keep really doing those deep digs into the why. If we do that and apply those whys to all the many things in our life, it really helps us make sure that it is aligned with the kind of life we have, right? Or the kind of life we want. And I think when we're living the life we want, simplicity, even though we may be busy, simplicity is there, because we're meeting some needs. And then if it feels hard to let go of something, that was me, focus on what gives you the best or most meaningful results or the best feelings of satisfaction. Kind of ask yourself, do you feel balanced? So those were just some things that came to mind with this week's mind map. I'm not sure that I went in the right direction with it, but I started really thinking about no because it's hard for me to say no. And so I asked myself some questions about my commitments. Why do I take on commitments that cause me to get frustrated? Because there are times when I feel like, why did I say yes to this? Why? Why did I do it? And when I look at that, it comes out, I don't wanna let others down. It's all those saboteurs that are living in my head, rent free in my head, being that people pleaser, being hyper vigilant, being a stickler. Those are my saboteurs, and, I wanna be needed. And I probably feel like if I don't just do it myself, it won't get done at all, or it won't get done the right way. And I need approval to feel valued. And I don't need approval to feel valued. I can be okay without that. But when I'm really digging into who I am, I seek approval. And it's, from my family of origin. Like there were certain things that needed to happen it wasn't just open approval. So I kind of looked at that through this week as I think about all the commitments and things. So, and yeah, fear of missing out. We don't like to do that. We want to be part of things. I have FOMO when you say FOMO, right? You just don't. So some reminders. No is a complete sentence. There's some ways to say no. Like it's hard for me to say no, but there's some gentle ways. Maybe another time. Maybe, and we talked about this back in November if you were with me. A reminder, you can do anything but not everything. And then I have one more thing to show you. If you're sitting there thinking about, I don't know, we talk about the Eisenhower matrix a lot at about tasks and getting things done and prioritizing, and that's over there on the right. But Stephen Covey has one, a matrix. It's very similar, only it is broken out to focus on the importance of something in your life and the time, right? And so I felt like that really fell into place with this idea of simplicity with our commitments. So it's again, very similar to that Eisenhower matrix that we talk about, but it invites us to examine the things that are in our life. So perhaps you create a Covey's matrix and plug the things that you are committed to into this space. And you might find that the quadrant 4 may show you that there are low priority things that maybe you could let go if it feels like it's too much in your life. So again, it's all about you and what's working for you. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to put on some music while you work at that. I see the chat is moving. I'm going to go back and look through the things that you were sharing. But as things are bubbling up, share those in the chat, and then I'll go through these slides again while we're rolling through this morning's. some great stuff in the chat. Carla called out the idea of maybe not commitments, but really leaning into the idea of the activities and what are we doing that actually drains us and we may not even be paying attention, like the phone scrolling, like getting lost in YouTube or all the socials, or I never let me loose on Pinterest because I end up, I'm looking for this idea and then I go to this idea and this idea and this idea and then it's 3 hours later. So it doesn't necessarily mean we totally get rid of it, but maybe we figure out ways to manage some of those activities that we would that are not making space for what matters. And, I shared several weeks ago the idea of, I think it was Kimberly L. who did her activities for the week, her habits and activities for the week. And then if she met them, she had little, like, rewards, at the end. I don't know if y'all remember that one. So one of her rewards was, like, 1 hour of mindless scrolling. So, that's a great way to manage it. Like, you don't have to totally get rid of something, but I think maybe management is a big word there. And yes, those 5 whys will work for everything. The things we want to get rid of in our life, the thing we want to bring into our life, because what it does is it takes us down a journey into our core values and motivations. When we continue to do that deep questioning of, well, why is that? And why is that? If you can get through 5 levels of why about something, you're going to discover that core, right? That deep-seated thing. So, thank you for spending time with this morning. I hope it opened up some thoughts for you with what simplicity looks like in your life through that lens of all the activities and commitments that we have. Helps us kind of start thinking about it. So now I'm going to invite you to turn to page 36, which is your rosebud thorn reflection. This is that exercise in gratitude for the previous week. What went well? What are we celebrating? What are we happy about? Those are those roses, those things that we are so grateful for. And they can be small. They can be like, I brushed my teeth every morning last week, and it was a goal I was working on. The bud are, what are you looking forward to? Little bitty things. It can be as simple as this is a new week. But what are those things that are gonna, bring you that you're looking forward to? And then the thorn, of course, the challenging, stressful things that you might need some support on, the things that didn't go well. And I always ask you to find the lesson in those thorns that are thrown our way, because that truly is how we grow through those situations. For me, y'all know I am a member, I've mentioned it before, Philanthropic Educational Organization, which is a women's education organization that provides scholarships, super low interest loans, and grants for women in various stages of life and their education. I am the chapter president, which is, it sounds cool, but it's a small chapter here. And I got to be a delegate to the state conference in San Antonio. And I'm very jazzed about going and seeing all the good work that is done for women. And so that was my rose from the week. I'm very excited about that. And it actually transfers into my bud for what I'm going to bring back to the local chapter and figure out ways that we can definitely, identify women that our chapter can put up for these grants, these loans, these scholarships. Super excited about that. And then my thorn is I am very tired this morning. I'm feeling pretty exhausted, very unmotivated for the week. So just, that being out of my element is my thorn. I'm going to put on a little bit of music. I would love to celebrate your roses. Let's celebrate those roses and buds together. And then let's, put those thorns in there. What are you struggling with? Let us help you carry those this week. This is your community. There's so much power in putting that down on paper and naming it, calling it out, and just, realizing that was part of your life. Thank you. Last week brought some loss for some of you. I'm so sorry. Mother's Day is a tricky day, right? Uh, we have the girl that I actually traveled with to San Antonio. This was her first Mother's Day without her mom. Those first ones are pretty tender, so we're thinking about y'all who are thinking about those losses. Also celebrating the good things that last week brought you. And we're gonna keep on trucking on. There's so much power in writing this stuff down and just like maybe some of these thorns you can kind of leave on paper or think of a plan to move forward a little bit, but always, always, always be gentle with yourself and make sure that you're feeling the feels and you're being gentle and taking what you need to be your best self. So I want to invite you right now, when we're finished today, if you'll share your weekly planner setup. If you're comfortable doing that, we'd love to see it in Sonder Club. That's where we get our ideas to share with you. I'm going to ask you to turn to page 40 and 41. That's what we'll be setting up this week. And I loved this little graphic. This week, I promised myself to stop doubting myself and trust my potential. Spend time each day to take care of myself. Maybe that's a challenge for your mind body health plan this week. Do one thing that scares me but helps me grow. Ooh, is there a goal that you might need to consider this week about pushing yourself? Learn to appreciate the little unnoticeable blessings. So, looking for those moments, those little glimmers, maybe that goes in your habit and activity tracker to notice that small blessing and then go write it down on your gratitude page. I always share this. It's just that list of the many, many different things you can do with the spaces that we're about to look at in your journal. Grab a screenshot if you haven't seen that before. I always share that, right now I have a garden tracker going because that's the time of year it is. But maybe this week you want to do like a National Day of list or a TV movie watching plan. Um, Here is a great example from one of y'all that I snatched from last week's setup. I like to always take a look at that. They wanted to feel centered. Instead of three goals this week, they're focusing on what they want more of and what they want less of. So just that permission to repurpose that goal space, if something like that more or less, more and less speaks to you, they've divided their to-do list up into their biggest tasks for work, home, and self. And then their habits and activities down there, they've set some goals for themselves. But you don't have to. You can leave that space blank and then just move forward by tracking alone and not worrying about assigning numbers to it. So I always like to share folks' pages so we can see. So the first thing, let's think about what do we want to feel like this week. You can use just, adjectives to describe that feeling. Perhaps there's a quote that will drive you, words, phrases, drop in the chat. How do you want to feel? What do you want this week to bring you? Now, sometimes you may be sitting here and you're just not sure where to land with that word. That's why we always ask you to share in the chat while we're talking about this section. But maybe you would prefer to leave this space blank, do your setup, take a look at what the week is going to bring you, and then gravitate toward a word that would support all those things. So it's really up to you. Maybe at the end of your setup, you'd rather claim the word once you look at everything in writing, all the things that you have calling you this week. Sarah says she just wants to feel productive. Get those things done. And Desiree says prepared. Like she's in charge, she's getting it energized, intentional. Perhaps an unexpected dumpster fire. Radhika, I don't like dumpster fire weeks, but we have them, don't we? So expansive and abundant. So flipping that dumpster fire to abundancy. I love that. Clear headed, determined, and focused. Generous, Christina. That's beautiful. So think about that. We're going to go on in, keep dropping those in the chat because somebody might be sitting there going, I really don't even know where to start. So again, you can do this now or wait until you take a look at your week. So I want to look over our goals and our to-dos at the same time. And again, go back, check that intentions page, look at that tracker. We are on Monday the 12th, right? So, how is your tracker looking, right? That monthly habit tracker. Do you have some blank spaces? And that's some data that you're collecting. So, maybe one of those habits that you were tracking isn't happening. You're seeing that. And so maybe that gives you a couple of options. Perhaps one of your goals is based around that empty space that's not getting ticked off. Or perhaps you go ahead and make a change mid-month on that habit tracker so that it can align better with what the month is bringing you. So I invite you to do that. Of course, looking at your goals through simplicity. Got some suggestions for that. Give me just 1 second. Maybe you've got some previous things that didn't get done, and then the space can also just be repurposed. We had that example of the more and less. Here's an example of putting some routines to lock those in with some little daily check-ins, so you can repurpose this space. You don't have to do 3 goals. Um, Thinking back to our mind map, if saying no is something that speaks to you, maybe that's what your goals are this week, right? And it's supporting the work you did through that mind map. Perhaps you have a personal challenge. Here's a couple of examples of that. I love this. Celebrate. So everything this week, we're celebrating health, we're celebrating family, we're celebrating a vacation. The person on the right wants to feel capable and then says, as a person who is capable, I will. And then those 3 goals are all around what is going to support being capable. We can focus on different areas, right? Mind, body, soul, frog, fun, and fruitful. That eat the frog, the thing that you need to, get rid of that you need to do, but you don't want to do. Maybe the 3 things that delight, and then something to delegate and something to delete. So, really, again, it's up to you taking what you need. Here are some more, kind of starting with that word and then setting up those spaces. I've shown the motivated one many times because those are 4 areas that they're working on instead of 3. Using your goals for the week, and there's how to create the to-dos. And so there's the 3 goals, and then their to-dos directly tie in to those goals for the week. Breaking your to-dos down into different spaces like need, want, hope, to do. And then the Eisenhower matrix that we referred to earlier. This is a great thing for those super long lists. Maybe part of your decluttering challenge. There's that not to-do list, saying no. Some ideas for that. I'll go back through all of these slides while you're working on these spaces. And love this art, everything with R: rest, reset, recuperate, restrict, reestablish routines. That's beautiful, right? Using that big letter R. And then perhaps you just do a to-do list and celebrate those things that you got done that were extra from your to-do list, or you lean into making a to-be list. And then let's take a look at our habit and activity tracker, and then we'll work on this page. So those habits and activities at the bottom of the page can vary every week. Now, these can be taken directly from that monthly habit tracker, or you can, put them in to sort of support the kind of week you're going to have. So, James Clear always says, start with a behavior that's so small it seems easy and reasonable to do it every day. So he says, like, if you want to do 50 push-ups, start with 5 or 10. So if you're doing some new things, start very little. Wish you could read more. Maybe start by reading 2 pages every night. You can read more, but if your goal is 2 pages, you're more likely to get that done. Want to start meditating? Then meditate for 1 minute every morning and then slowly build up. So I always love that shout out to James Clear and using those baby steps to attain the things we want to attain. And again, using those intentions that we set up at the front end of the month is a great driver for our habits and activities in the month. And, again, considering our mind map, what are we wanting to let go of? And here are some ideas for that to support maybe what you considered during our mind map work. Here are some examples of setting that up. I always circle that night walk with audiobook because that's called that habit stacking. When you do 2 things at once, you stack a habit with another habit to help you do it. This is a great tip for those brand new things you're trying. You can set goals or straight up just track them. No goals set. You see several examples here where there are no goals set. You don't have to fill in every line. There's a couple of examples here of not filling in every line on this space. You can circle the days you want particular things to happen. So just some great suggestions there. And then, of course, I always like to throw in the habit and activity suggestion slide from things that I've seen from y'all. So I'll go back through all of these slides for like page 1 that we're working on while some music's playing, and kind of let us know if you're going to change anything up, what you're doing this week, how you're going to support yourself through the goals, habits, and activities and to-dos that you are working on. Y'all, talking about so many dishes, right? And it's never ending, dishes and laundry, right? And so, yes, I love the call out because I was gonna come on and say this, but I really, really, really try to when I'm like, ugh, I really try to focus on the gratitude in dirty dishes. That it meant I had food to eat. I had a place to put a plate and a bowl and a cup and the spoon and a stove to cook the food in. And that, so I really, it feels kind of dorky, but it really does help you reframe the privilege of having dirty dishes, the privilege of washing the never-ending piles of laundry. It means that I am so blessed because I never have to worry about covering my body and that I have a home and I have a washing machine and so really trying to frame those out. I'm so glad that was called out in the chat because I've always tried to do it when it's the stuff I don't want to do. It is very helpful. So, thank you for shouting that out, and also, the idea, Mel Robbins just wrote that great book about let them, and so somebody doesn't want to help you do dishes, let them sit in there. I'm gonna figure out how to find joy in this because it's important to me, right? So just sort of reframing that. So anyway, that was a great discussion. Yeah, dishes and laundry, they never end. But gosh, the alternatives, right? So here's an idea of page 2. Somebody's going to use their meal planner for this made me happy reflection. The word of the day, just a little place, smile stickers, a place for the stickers to be stuck. And then, in the shopping list, and then what they are loving is spring. So yeah, yeah. And Anna, that's a great, I'm so glad you said that. It's a great time to maybe pair something else that delights you with the thing that doesn't delight you. So I always have an audiobook going, always, always, always. And so that happens during chores, stuff like that. So is there something, raunchy TV while you're doing the dishes or folding the laundry, that little indulgence, right? So yeah, pair it with something and be deliberate about doing that to bring a little joy into those mundane things. So let's look at this meal plan. I'm going to go over the spaces. Everything you see can be put in any of these spaces that we're talking about on this page too. There's a couple of examples of meal plan, using this as meal plan, meal tracker. Lots of repurposing ideas over there in that small box because this space really does get um, repurposed a lot, right? Lots of different things. Here's some great examples of that. A clothing plan, midday check-in, reflections, two different types of reflections, which I love. I love how both of these are set up as reflections, but they look a little different from each other. Your to-do list, this is a great place to put like a big to-do list broken down by the days. Your victory inventory, using those water droplets. I like to shout out to those. There are 8 water droplets. Are there 8 check-ins with self you need to do? Could you tie this into your mood tracker and making sure that like maybe you're checking in per hour and seeing how you're feeling, right? And using those 8 water droplets in a different way if you don't use them for your hydration. We've got our mind body health plan for the week. I love this. How to mix up your routine. So this could be some fun stuff to incorporate somewhere in there. Maybe be very deliberate about wearing an outfit you don't wear often, especially if like you're doing that decluttering. Are there clothes that aren't getting touched and why? Well, maybe you need to kind of change things up. Try a new recipe, redecorate your workspace, maybe clean it up, add a little something, a little candle or flowers. Try watching a movie or TV show in a different language. Style your hair differently. Watch the sunset or the sunrise. I just kind of love those little moments that don't really cost anything, but that just bring a spark of joy and simplicity to our life. Here is a self-esteem journal. This is a really great way to do a reflection on one of these spaces. There is an example of mine over on the right. I did this, several, I don't know, long time ago, but it's a great little mini reflection each day. So perhaps this goes in your meal plan, or maybe this is in your shopping list. Again, all of this could go anywhere on this page, but I like the intentionality of stopping for a moment, answering that. Some examples of mind body health, and this could be your self-care plan this week. Like, write out a treat for yourself every day so that you've got something to look forward to. Maybe you make a little fun menu of things that you want. Some daily intentions here using alliteration. There's a fun example of what they named their motivation Monday, and then what did they do? An exercise video. So that's kind of fun. This is that sticker set that's kind of the evergreen sticker set. It goes with all of our journals. And in there, they've got these self-care bingo stickers. And so that's a very easy way to embrace your self-care through that. The shopping list, again, this could, the things that you see for the shopping list could go somewhere else, but I did pull together several ideas of a bingo space. We like the bingo space here, right? Because of the grids. And here's how people did different bingos for the space, the self-care space, uh, or the shopping space. There is an actual shopping list. And then things, what are you going to focus on? There's ideas for mini breaks at work. Maybe this is your place for your stickers to land. Love this idea of the voice of wisdom. So let me put on some music, and we'll work on this page, and then we'll close up our time together and go about our week. right. The fastest hour of your week is the time that you are with the Sonder community because our hour is just about over. We are still finishing up, but I do want to bring attention to that currently page. I always like to do this as that kind of mid-month check-in. So we are hitting mid-month. Wednesday, Thursday of this week. So go schedule a little time in your calendar to sit with this currently page and look at it. Kind of think about what are you loving, feeling, enjoying, anticipating, all that good stuff. Especially maybe framing it through the idea of simplicity. Go look at that May intentions page. Go look at your habit tracker. Give yourself permission to change things up if May is bringing you what you weren't counting on. Give yourself that permission. We always like to shout out to that personal coach, and Jen's going to start dropping some links in the chat for you if you want to get some more information on that. There's my playlist for our time together. And then I'm going to do what I did last week. I'm going to play a little song. And as we are leaving today, I would like you to think about something simple in your life that you are loving and drop that in the chat. For me, I bought some new floral sheets a while back, and we've always had plain sheets, and I was like, and they look like silk and sonder, so my husband's thrilled, but seeing those flowers just brings me such simple joy. So I want you to think about what is showing simplicity in your life and tell us what you are loving right now. Y'all have a great week. Thanks for joining Team Jennifer this morning.
I love the mountains, I love the rolling hills, I love the flowers, I love the daffodils, I love the fireside when all the lights are low. Boom-de-yada, 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 boom.